Hi, I'm State Representative Gloria Johnson from House District 13 in Knoxville, and I'm here to talk about a couple of bills that I have that are going to be coming up in committee next week. And I want to fill people in, let them know what the bills are about, and how they're going to help families in House District 13 and across the state of Tennessee. Joining me, I have Feroza Freeland. She is a former intern of mine, but now she's working as policy advisor with A Better Balance. And so it's really neat to work with somebody I've worked with for several years on other things, to work with her while I'm at the legislature. And so that's exciting. I'm glad you're here, Feroza.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, a couple of the bills that are going to be up in the Employee Affairs Committee next week, and that will be House Bill 363, which is a bill that is about educational leave for parents so that they can attend school conferences for their child at their school. And it allows, in 1 year, it allows for 4 hours of leave for the parents to attend a school conference. And the other bill is House Bill 514, and it's the Tennessee Paid Family Leave Act. And what that does is we don't have any paid family leave at this point. A lot of states are implementing the policy. You know, it's happening around the world. It's really important. We have folks who are having babies. One of the particular reasons for this legislation, I have a friend who's a firefighter and her husband is a firefighter. And she found out she's having triplets. And with triplets, it's an automatic 6 weeks leave because of a C-section. So the reality is that she doesn't have that much leave. And so if we were to have this paid family leave policy, it would really benefit her and her husband so that she can have the time she needs to recover from delivering and all of that. And also, if by chance, which often happens with triplets, there's a lot of time in the NICU. That's important. Got a teacher friend at home whose husband was diagnosed with a terrible disease, and he is in a nursing home now. She is home taking care of their 5-year-old and continuing to teach. But she's been recently diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer. And this 12 weeks of leave would really be beneficial to her in so many ways, and to their family. So I think it's just critical that we do something. And this policy is rather conservative in it's only a 12-week policy. It's completely employee paid. So for about the cost of a cup of coffee per week, this would allow someone to take that family leave for 12 weeks. So Feroza, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about how that's working other places, and tell us a little bit about that legislation.
Yeah, certainly. So about 7 states and the District of Columbia currently have paid family leave policies. We have several other states that are considering similar proposals, and we also have several cities around the region that have adopted paid family leave policies for municipal employees, and actually Nashville is one of those that was passed a couple of years ago. And so this is really important because, like you said, right now there is no law guaranteeing paid family or medical leave to workers in Tennessee. And so, when workers need time off to care for a new baby, or to care for their loved ones, or to even care for their own serious illness, they really have to sacrifice their income and their savings in order to do that. And, I think it's so important that you're sharing folks' stories, because we hear these stories all the time about folks who are put in a really difficult position because they're not able to have paid leave to take care of these really important family situations. And so, we believe that no one should have to sacrifice their financial security in order to care for themselves and their loved ones. And, this is actually a positive thing for businesses as well, because, it reduces turnover and all those costs associated with hiring and training new people. It's also really good for small businesses because, a lot of small businesses really want to provide paid family and medical leave, but they're not able to. And so what this policy would do is allow those small businesses to offer this benefit that normally only larger companies would be able to provide.
Right, and I think you hit on, you know, something I forgot to talk about. So people my age, you know, a lot of us are dealing with taking care of our parents.
Exactly.
And so I've had to do a lot of care for my parents, and this would certainly benefit people who need to help care for their parents, or even get care set up for their parents if they're not going to be the caretaker.
Absolutely.
So it just, you know, it's amazing how much time all of that takes to get everything set up and get the care set up for your loved ones. And this
Right.
just allows you the time without fearing, you know, am I going to lose my job? Can we stand to lose this income? It's just really a great way to help families.
Exactly. And you know, we really do want to encourage that family caregiving because it reduces the burden and the costs on our healthcare system. And it has a lot of great benefits for the patient as well.
Yes.
And another thing I'll say about this policy is that it really allows parents the time to bond with a new child, and it encourages breastfeeding, which Tennessee has a pretty low rate of breastfeeding compared to the national average, and we know that has a lot of health benefits to it. So.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's important to point out. We talk a lot about, you know, babies and child care here in the Tennessee legislature, but let's start giving the care that baby needs and that the family needs, the parents need. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
And of course, you know, as a former educator, the idea of parents attending that conference is critical. And a lot of times, the majority of my 27 years in education were spent in underserved schools. And a lot of those parents could not make it or did not come to school meetings. And my first experience, my first principal was pretty awesome. And what we would do is we would get in her car and we'd go to the parent's job or we'd go to the parent's house. You can't do that as much anymore, but that's kind of how I came up, is going to them if they couldn't come to you. And so what this bill does, the educational leave, what that does is it requires the business to give that time to an employee to attend a conference. And, you know, there are people out there that they'll say, oh, the parents don't care, they don't come to the meetings. The parents, 99.9% of the time, absolutely do care.
Right.
But they either have their own physical issues, mental health issues, or they're working 2 and 3 jobs,
Right.
trying to keep a roof over those kids' head and trying to keep food on their table. And that's why they can't leave, because they're for fear of losing their job. And so tell us about how this legislation has been beneficial.
Yeah, well, there are several states across the country that have some form of leave that's allowed for parents to participate at their child's school. We've seen it sort of implemented in different ways, but we're really excited about this bill that you've introduced that would provide, 4 hours a year to parents to go attend a meeting or activities at their child's school. And what we know is that for students whose parents are able to be more involved, they generally have higher test scores, they have better attendance rates, they have higher graduation rates. And it also has a ripple effect, throughout the whole school and the community. And so I think it's really great for us to be encouraging parents and allowing parents to attend these meetings and be more involved at school, again, without having to sacrifice their job security.
Right, and I hear that a lot in the legislature when we're debating education issues is, how do we get the parents to be more involved? Here's how you get the parents to be more involved. Right. You make sure that they can get to those meetings, because that's what we're not doing. And if we can give them ability, and I've heard people say, well, you can't force business. Well, I actually heard when our Governor Lee, was in Knoxville at South Dole High School, he said he had the business community represented there, teachers and families and everything. And he said, our businesses benefit from these good education that our kids are getting, and our businesses need to step up and use their time and their resources. So it sounds like to me, Governor Lee sounds like he kind of supports this bill, because he's asking the businesses to step up. And the interesting thing about it is I talk to people in business. When I first was talking about this bill with one woman, she is at Blue Cross, and she has in Chattanooga, she has a big division in Blue Cross Blue Shield in Chattanooga, and she said her workforce is 70% women, and she said this is something she would offer them, and she would actually do it paid. And within the bill, it can be unpaid or paid. That's up to the business.
Right.
But she said that would be something she could easily offer as a perk to make her employees feel better about that job there. And I talked to somebody else who was worked at one of the large banks in Tennessee. And he said, I think my company will love this bill. And so a lot of small business folks that I know, and some of it admittedly said, well, it'll be a little tough for us, but we believe in our schools and we want to make this happen. So
yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great point too. And to go back to the paid family leave as well, we've seen in one state that implemented a paid family leave policy that overwhelming majority of employers reported a positive or neutral effect on employee morale and retention. So we've really seen these policies work, and it can help in attracting good employees and good businesses and good jobs to the state as well.
Yeah, when unemployment is at a good low level, and so it's going to be more competitive. And so what better ways to make sure that you're keeping your employees there with you is implementing some of these policies that aren't costly to them, but really are meaningful not only to the parent, but to the kid, to the community, to the schools, and thinking about educating those kids. As you said, they graduate more, they attend college if their parents are involved.
Exactly.
Why don't we all do everything we can to make sure that we're giving the best education possible?
Absolutely.
So I would love for you all to be supportive of this legislation, and I want to know what you can do, because what you can do is between now and when that bill comes through committee next week, I'd say, by Monday, it'd be great. By close of the day Monday, you've called somebody at the Employee Affairs Committee, asked them to support this legislation, or call your representative as well. Let them know you've heard about the legislation, you would like for them to support it, because we're not seeing a lot of family-based legislation coming out of Nashville right now. And I think these are two things that are really beneficial to families. And if you would like to see this legislation pass, call your legislator or call the folks on the Employee Affairs Committee and tell them that you want paid family leave or educational leave. We'd really appreciate it. Anything else for Rosa to close?
No, I think that's all. Just want to say thank you so much for your work on these issues.
Absolutely. And thank you guys. And now you guys can do your job and give them a call.